Good morning, good afternoon, good evening to everyone who's joining us today, depending on where you are in the world. Thank you so much for taking time to learn more about MIT Sloan and the Master of Finance, or MFIn program, as we refer to it. My name is Diane Jordan. I have the privilege of having been at MIT Sloan and working very closely with the Master of Finance, or MFIn program, for 11 years now. So seen many classes. We just admitted our 13th class. It started on July 1st, so very exciting. But we're also excited to share a few slides with you today that'll be kind of an overview of the program. I'll go through some of the curriculum, general aspects. We are still finalizing what the 2026 MFIn application will look like, but I can at least give you some ideas about what to expect. It'll be released later this summer. And I'm really excited to be able to have three of our more recent alums joining us. And they are going to really talk about their experiences, both from the standpoint of the curriculum, courses they took, experiences they had, whether that was student clubs, other activities, and they're all, working now. So I'm really excited to be able to have them join us. And then we'll leave some time at the end for open Q&A that we'll curate from whatever you put in the Q&A portion of the webinar. I also have my awesome colleagues in admissions, Catherine and Megan, who are working behind the scenes and are also going to answer some questions throughout the webinar. So feel free to go ahead and put them in there. But why don't we go ahead and get started? We start each info session is by sharing our school's mission, because it really speaks to the values we hold most deeply and the foundation of our community. And so we really are looking to develop those principled, innovative leaders who will improve the world, generate ideas, and advance management practices. There's some key benefits to coming to our MFIn program. And let me just say up front and preface this, it is primarily what we call an early career or pre-professional program. And so as you can see, MFIn is one of several programs that are offered at MIT Sloan at the master's level, but is one of the few that is highly specialized and is also early career. And so typically, I would say most of our MFIn students come directly from university. So they've had some internship experience, and then anyone who has graduated may only have 1 or 2 years of full-time work experience, typically, again, in the field of finance, and maybe looking to gather or gain those additional skills, especially as it relates to quantitative finance. But the other really key benefit is you're part of this larger, what we call the portfolio programs, or the MFIN, and students get to really participate in activities and classes when you're in your electives, in particular, with students who could be coming from any of these programs. And so when you look at the years of experience, that are, some of our, for example, our 2-year traditional MBAs who have 3 to 7 years of full-time work experience, or our Sloan Fellows who are 1-year executive MBAs who have on average 10 and up to 25 plus years, you are getting to learn a lot from them too, and you will participate in the clubs the same way they do, any conferences, speaker series, as I said, courses that are electives. And so this is just building an additional network for you. So it really is a key benefit of coming to the MFIn program. I'm going to talk a little bit more detail about kind of a broad overview, if you will. And by the way, let me mention that the information I'm providing here today is also available on your website. And we have a lot more detail too. So I encourage you, if you remain interested, please, take a look at the website and do an even deeper dive. So the MFIn program is really designed now to be delivered in 18 months. There is an option to check the box, in fact, in our application every year for a 12-month, or you can later on try to accelerate. It depends on a variety of factors. But the reality is there are many key benefits to being in the 18-month, particularly because this is early career. You can take more classes, you can engage more in the community, and in between the end of your first 12, you have a summer internship option. and then you come back and you finish up with a fall term, a second fall term. So there's some real key benefits to the 18-month. Most of the people who end up in the 12-month are coming perhaps because they are working full-time already. Their employer is sponsoring them to take the MFIn program. And so they just want to get that year, do the deep dive, and then go back to their full-time employment. We also offer a very flexible curriculum. So yes, of course, there are core courses, and I'm going to show you that in a minute. But there are many ways to approach the field of finance, and whether you think you want to be more on the traditional banking side, or you want to go deeper on the quant finance side, trading or research. There's just a lot of ways to approach it, and that's why we've built in this flexibility so that you can build up into, again, if you're more interested in quantitative finance, for example, we have multiple courses exploring AI and finance from many different angles. Action learning is actually a requirement for the MFIn degree, and there are many ways that MFIn students can actually meet that requirement. One that's extremely popular, and I'm pretty sure at least a couple of our alums have taken advantage of it, is the finance lab, our Fin Lab. And that takes place in the month of January when there are no classes across MIT, the institute. And so students will be part of a project team working closely with a company sponsor on a high impact challenge. And these sponsors are in the field of finance that are very wide ranging, but they're great projects. You get to work directly with representatives from those company sponsors. And it's basically taking what you've learned in the classroom and applying it in practical terms. And then you could also meet the requirement by doing one or both of the pro seminars. There's one in corporate finance and capital markets. There are also concentrations, because we recognize that there are some individuals who do come in and perhaps they already know they're on a track for, doing financial engineering ultimately. And so they want to demonstrate the skills to a potential employer in particular. So it is optional, but you can do a financial engineering concentration while you're in the program. There's also climate and social impact finance, capital markets, corporate finance. And we actually just launched a new fintech concentration. So that's exciting. This will be the first year that it's fully in place. And so these are just ways that you can, again, build your skill set in a particular area of finance, but also does send a very strong signal to a potential employer that, hey, I've got these additional skills. I can also tell you that you can do more than one concentration, although doing more than two is definitely challenging, but it's something you can absolutely do. So if you have interest in a couple of different areas, you want to pursue those concentrations, you absolutely are able to do that. And this is just a timeline. So I think what's important to note is a couple of things in terms of what we offer and what you can expect. So the program, as I mentioned at the top of this conversation, does start in the summer. It's a summer term that's required. The program is entirely residential in person. It is STEM designated, so hopefully most of you know what that means. It's a government designation that has been awarded to our program, multiple programs, in fact, at MIT Sloan, which you already have the 12 months of OPT if you want to work in the United States, if you're not from here. And then because of the STEM designation, there's an additional 24 months that you could potentially work. An employer has to approve it and sponsor it. MIT works with many, many employers, so you'll see where that's a real benefit. But getting back to the program timeline, it is a summer term, typically starts July 1st. It's really very hands-on, and it's a chance for students to really build a deep reservoir of finance knowledge and immediately put that knowledge to work in the world. So I mentioned action learning, the pro seminars, finance lab. So there's some core courses in the summer term. There's a little bit of a break after the summer term ends and before you start in the fall. And typically, what's important to note is that this is the time where you'll have lots of conversations with your academic advisor to talk about, okay, beyond now the core requirements, what do I want to, incorporate into the curriculum in terms of any elective courses, restricted or other electives. And students in MFIN can also cross-register at Harvard's professional schools. So they're HBS, HLS, HKS. You can also take courses throughout MIT, and many of our MFIN students do take advantage of that. And then there's January. So as I mentioned, that's what we call IAP, or independent activities. For most MFINs, that means taking advantage of doing the Fin Lab. And then you come back, you start the spring term. There's some core courses, but a lot of your electives. Anyone who's in the 12-month would then graduate in June. Everyone else has June to August to basically take advantage of a practical training. Most MFIN students do, and they really leverage the career office that we have. I'll mention them a little bit more too. And then you come back after the summer internship and finish up with your final fall semester. You can do a master's thesis. Some of our students who are interested in perhaps going on to pursue a PhD, for example, might find that really beneficial. So this is just the timeline to give you a sense of how it's a lot to get in when you think about the application of the maths, the statistics, AI and finance, all the coursework that you need to learn. Okay, so I want to just quickly do an introduction of our panelists. I have a couple more slides after that, and then we'll get to talking to them about their specific experiences. So these are all, as you can see, very recent grads, which is exciting. We have Allison, who's joining us. These all graduated in 2025, working as a fundamental research analyst. Matisse, who is working as a quant researcher, and then Francisco, who's in equity research. So in a minute, I'll have them introduce themselves again, but I just want to give you a sense of their backgrounds, and they'll talk about, again, their experiences. Every MFIN student comes with a certain set of experiences on their own, and then comes through the program with certain goals. And so it may be different. Each person may have a different experience over the other, but essentially you're all part of this cohort. And the cohort, for example, is typically about 120 students, but we also initially have you broken out into two groups, Bulls and the Bears. And it's really more just, again, to, during the summer term in particular, getting to know some of your fellow classmates even better. So whoops, didn't mean to go that fast. So I'm going to ask Matisse if you might start out and maybe talk a little bit about, what courses were really meant a lot to you, what were special. And maybe we can just, I'm going to go ahead and spotlight you if you don't mind.
Yeah, sure. Thank you. Hi, everyone. I'm Mathis. Before I came to MIT, I was studying economics and finance in undergrad in Germany. And I also came to MIT to take advantage of the opportunity to shift more towards quant because that's what I wanted to do. And my undergrad wasn't that quantitative. Yeah, it worked out quite well because now I'm working as a quantitative researcher and I quite enjoy it. And I think that's also why what I really appreciated at MIT was all the flexibility to take classes outside of Sloan. So some of my favorite classes were from the computer science department. One that I can definitely recommend in case you join the program is the deep learning class that the computer science department has. It's a first year PhD class for those who do the machine learning PhD. And I think it's just amazing that you can take all these classes. Because I think what a lot of these programs have in common is that they put in a lot of effort to offer a lot of great classes for you. And we actually also do have a deep learning class at Sloan, but at MIT you can actually choose between the classes that are tailored for the MFIn program and all the other classes outside of Sloan that are at the general MIT campus. And I think that is what really helped me take the most quantitative classes to prepare me better to shift from my economics and finance undergrad to actually doing quant research.
Great. Did you have a favorite? I know this is a tough question, but did you have a favorite faculty or course in particular?
It's really hard. So this deep learning class is definitely among my favorite classes.
Okay.
then there's also the finance lab that we're probably going to talk about later, but it's hardly comparable to other classes because it's a huge project. And I think one other class that is definitely among my favorites, it's very different from other classes at MIT. It was quantitative investment management.
Mm-hmm.
It's taught by Matthew Rothman, who
Mm-hmm.
is global head of statistical arbitrage at Millennium. And he brings a very different perspective because he's from the industry, and I think he knows what he's talking about, but he's also very entertaining. So he's very, very thought-provoking. So it's a different kind of class. It's not that you learn quantitative methodologies in the sense that you do in the deep learning class. It's more about critically thinking about quantitative investment management, and I also quite enjoyed that.
Great. Yeah, I bet he has lots of stories to tell.
Yeah, he does.
Great. Okay. Allison, do you want to go next? Talk a little bit about some of the
Yeah, sure.
differences and
Um,
favorites, that sort of thing.
yeah, of course. Hi everyone. My name's Allison. I graduated from Tsinghua University before I went to MIT, with a bachelor's degree in economics and finance. And now I work as a junior fundamental analyst at Old Mission Capital, which is a market making and prop trading firm. I think like my favorite class at MIT was probably advanced corporate finance taught by Professor Igor at the time.
Yeah.
I'm not sure who's teaching that class right now, but it's a very beneficial class for those of you who are looking for jobs, perhaps in investment banking or fundamental research. It lays a very solid foundation, I would say, for a lot of the students in my class who were kind of like looking to enhance their technical skills. And I would say like it definitely helped me in terms of my recruiting.
Hmm. Great. And did you say that you did the Fin Lab?
Yeah, so I did the FinLab. I actually worked for a family office based in Boston,
Mhm.
on a project that was about ESG and AI investment opportunity. So that was quite close to what I did at Oppenheimer. So I think like having to do the FinLab before my summer internship was definitely like a very good experience and offered me really good industry exposure before I went into the field.
Yeah, definitely. Can you talk a little bit about like the skills that you really relied upon to get you through like FinLab and some of the courses? Was it, fundamental mathematics? Were there other courses? Because we talk a lot about that. And I know, there's a lot of, modeling, stochastic processes, vector analyses. I mean, what are some of the things that were helpful to you from your educational back, prior to coming to MIT?
Yeah, so prior to coming to MIT, I actually did internship in investment banking before. So I think like in terms of financial skills like valuation, um, DCF, like all the basic accounting stuff, I think like MIT was kind of a plus on top of my
Mm-hmm.
previous experience, but what I really learned from the FinLab was, I think, first of all, teamwork, because I was paired up with three other MBA students. So I think like just closing the gap between, me having no work experience at all and them having almost like 10 years of work
Yeah.
experience is definitely like a challenge for me. And I think the second thing is to learn about a whole new industry in a very short amount of time. And I
Yeah.
think that's what you really have to do on a day-to-day basis when you're working full-time as well.
Sure. Yeah, no, great. Thank you. Okay, Francisco. Hi.
Hi. Hi, everyone. Yeah, so I also did my bachelor's in economics and finance. I did it in Portugal. After that, I interned for a year in asset management in a Swiss bank in Spain, and then moved to Cambridge for the master in finance. I was gonna say the class Ali said, advanced corporate finance, but I'll change it. I would go for favorite faculty, Piero Novelli, and the course is Public versus Private Capital Markets. He was the global head of investment banking at UBS. So it's a bit of a different way of looking at the courses, not as technical as advanced corporate finance, not even close, but he really gives his real life perspective on the different deals he was part of. Has great speakers. We had the founder of Centerview. We had the president of UBS. We had the one of the founders of EQT. So I think it's a class that gives you more of a global perspective of the different areas within corporate finance in the professional world.
Yeah, that's a very important point too, Francisco, because so many of our faculty, while, we've got Nobel Prize winners who've written the textbooks on, topics in finance, we also have so many who are actually practitioners in their respective fields. And that just adds a whole nother level of learning and skills.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I didn't do the finance lab, but I
Okay.
did do the pro seminar in investment banking with which was Igor, that is
Yeah.
or was at least
Yeah.
the head at the time, who teaches or taught advanced corporate finance.
Yeah.
I think it goes a bit with what Ali said, which is we work with people that are not just the MFIN, so we know all the MFINs pretty well. It's not that big of a program. We're all roughly the same age, so it kind of pushes you to work with a person which most likely is much older than you. Very different people that have a lot of work experience, a lot more work experience relative to us. And it's a term, at least. So I did the project with Goldman Sachs for the biotech department. It's a department that I had no idea about, so completely learning from scratch, very technical, and I think it was a great experience to really feel how it feels to be in the weeds in a sector that you have no idea about.
Yeah. Now it really helps, I'm sure. Okay, great. So let's move on to the next, because I want to be cognizant of time. This is all great information, but let's just talk a little bit more about community. Because while, of course, you come to MIT in the program for the academics, we want you also to, engage in the community, not only, more of the professional and student clubs, but just also have a good time. So, there's the social aspect. So, how many of you, or did any of you participate in student clubs? Maybe which ones? Did any of you get involved with the Happy Belly Club, or which is the one for people who are really interested in their foodies, essentially? But talk a little bit about that. Who wants to start?
I guess I can start with my
Okay.
experience. So I was part of two different clubs. I was the VP of MI3, which stands for MIT Impact Investing Initiatives.
Yeah.
I was in charge of curriculum, and that's how I really got to know a lot of people because I was the one who was in charge of, inviting all the speakers to come to our panel. And I was also a member of MIT Healthcare Club.
Wow. Yeah. Good.
I was also part of two clubs, the investment banking club, which I think is useful because they help guide you through recruiting.
Yeah.
As a side note, it's a bit more focused on MBA recruiting than MFIN, as they have a bit more structure to their summer associate and then full-time associate. So a bit different. But I also was part of the CLC, which is the Community Leadership Council. It's more of an MFIN-oriented club, more as a way to create social events for the MFIN students. We organized quite a few that were quite fun. The football match between the two MFIN classes. Once
And
the
when
new
you
class
say
joins.
football, you mean European soccer,
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
Football.
Exactly. I mean soccer. Yeah, exactly. I still haven't gotten used to that 2 years later. Yeah, and other social events, but I recommend this one.
Did anyone take advantage of the Charles River that runs parallel to our campus?
Of course.
I
I'll let
mean,
Mathis go.
yeah, Mathis.
Oh yeah, no, I also just want to say I took advantage of it. There's actually a kayak rental. It's right behind Sloan, like 300 meters, and you can just go there, rent a kayak, and drive around on the river. Some people also get a sailing license. My friend did it, and he took me on the MIT sailing boat
Yeah.
on the river, but I never got the license, so I could only be guest. Um,
That's
I
okay.
was Yeah, I was actually not in the student club, so it might not be the best example, but I think the reason is more interesting because, as Francisco said, the CLC organizes community events for the MFINs. The MFIN staff organizes events. Then there are a lot of other events that are organized. For example, the C function, where they have a huge ship with great food, and then when the fall term starts, you meet in the Boston Harbor, and then you do a tour on the ship. Or there was a gala in Newport, I think in the mansion where they shot the
Yep.
first Great Gatsby movie.
Yeah.
And on top of that, you have this very tight community of MFINs anyway. So there was in our class, there was one of my friends, and he organized dinners. He was a professional chef before he joined the program, and he cooked for huge amounts of people. So I think even if you're not in a club, there is a lot of community events from different sources that you can attend. Yeah, there's a lot going on even if you're not in a club.
Yeah, yeah. I think you bring up a really interesting point, an important one too. It's just sort of juggling the academics with wanting to take full advantage of everything that MIT does have to offer. And there's a lot there. So time management skills are tested to the nth degree, I'm sure. Okay, let's talk a little bit about careers, and then I'll do a quick overview of admissions, and then we can take some live questions live. So, excuse me, we do have dedicated career advisors for the MFIN students. Every program, in fact, has dedicated career advisors, but they all take advantage and leverage the overall MIT and MIT Sloan employer relations groups. And so, as you might expect, it is MIT. We have many employers who are interested in hiring our graduates. It's really up to you to, again, engage with the career office. We call it the CDO, but they do everything that you might expect. One-on-one, they really help and guide you in terms of, here's the timing. So I will say this up front because I know we do have a number of prospective students who let us know early on that they are interested in the more traditional iBanking. And that process for summer internships starts very early. So, for example, in March of 2025, the hiring was being done or recruiting was being done for investment banks for the summer of 2026. So it's a really intense time. And so our career office is very in tune with what's going on. And they actually provide some online, even before students arrive on campus, some online services to help guide you, especially if you are interested in the fields of finance or the sides of finance that start early recruiting. So it's everything you might expect, but I don't know if any of our alums have anything they want to share about, career resources, to what extent you were able to use them, or how you did your networking, because that is obviously a big part of doing this too.
I can start. I found super useful. There is a platform with alumni and where they're working. So, of course, you can do the classic LinkedIn search, filter by school and whatever company you're looking at. But I think it funnels it down quite well. That has their alumni contact there, if I'm not mistaken, which you can email directly. On the CDO, the career office, I think it was very useful for me in terms of organization and building a plan out of who am I contacting. Of course, at the end of the day, you are applying by yourself and you need to prepare to interviews by yourself. But I think it's a good support to have, even if it's to talk about your progress that you've done so far. I found it quite useful.
Great. Anyone else?
I think just adding on to Francisco's point, CDO also hosts a lot of different alumni panels and career nights. So I think those type of events are a really good starting point if you want to reach out to someone that you've never heard of before, right? It's a great way to connect with people from the industry and alumni. And I would just say as a junior person, probably you don't have a lot of experience with networking with people. So I think with alumni, you might feel more at ease.
Yeah. No, great.
Yeah, I think the other two already mentioned yeah, all the important things, but I would like to add another perspective. MIT also prepares you to find a job in a bit of a different way because when I finished my undergrad, to be quite honest, I just wasn't qualified for the job I'm doing now. And due to the incredible curriculum and like everything that you learn at MIT, in the end of the day, what most of the time gets you a job is if you're just a really, really good candidate. And I think that's what MIT definitely does to you. It definitely makes a better candidate out of everyone. And I think that is also quite helpful in finding a job.
No, that's really great advice. Absolutely. Yep. Okay. Great. All right. So I'm looking at the time. I want to make sure we can get to some of these questions live. So, Catherine, would you mind? I'm going to stop. I'm not going to talk about admissions too much other than before we get to the questions, I'm going to stop sharing because first and foremost, in terms of the 2026 application, as I mentioned again earlier, it will be released and go live on our website probably the end of the summer or maybe a little bit before. And it's, all the components are what you might expect, but the one thing or a couple of things that I'll mention up front is the deadline to submit the application will continue to be in January, and for 2026, it's January 5th. And what that means is if the application is available online by the end of this summer, you have between the summer and January 5th to submit it. So my point being, don't rush. Make sure you've read all the questions, answered all the essays, done everything you need to do that's as strong as possible before you submit it. Nothing, absolutely nothing, I'm being perfectly transparent here, is going to happen to your application until after the 5th of January of 2026. And that means you're applying in the year that you intend to enroll. So you're applying in January 2026, you're going to enroll in July 2026. The other little tip I will give you is that get to your recommenders now. We will be asking for 3 letters of recommendation. For most of you who are coming directly from university, we'll be looking for 2 academic and 1 professional. Hopefully the professional is from your most recent summer internship or internship that you've had if it's a little bit longer, and from a supervisor. If you can't do that, at least someone who knows your work well. But you'll see all of this in the application again once it's released. We will be doing application tips webinar. We'll have other webinars that'll be more detailed around the admissions process and application. So stay tuned for those. But I really want to spend the time that we have left in talking, answering your questions, and having our alums provide some great feedback too. Okay, so where are we, Catherine? I know there's a bunch that came in that I marked to answer live.
Yeah, one of them was asking about how AI has been integrated into some of the coursework, and how you're going to build those skills when you're within the MFIn program. So I don't know if anyone had exposure to that. I know you, Mathis, maybe mentioned about the deep learning course, but maybe share a little more.
Yeah, for sure. But so the deep learning course, I would say it's more about being able to build these models. And I think, if I don't misremember, I also read the question. It was a bit more about how the coursework at Sloan evolves around generative AI. So I think for that, there are some classes where they embrace it and encourage people to use generative AI to learn how to effectively apply it, because it would be a bit unrealistic to think that students never use it. So of course you shouldn't use it to just generate your responses, but especially for something like coding, it's very helpful. And I think no one realistically still codes completely without generative AI. It just gives you like a huge boost in productivity. So I think they're definitely incorporating these things into the classes and try to guide people into how to using it effectively while still being critical, and not fall into the trap of just believing all the hallucinations, and just believing everything the ChatGPT tells you just because he is able to make everything sound very logical.
And there is an AI for finance course that is offered as part of the curriculum too. So, or an elective, I should say. Yeah.
Great.
Okay.
Thank you both. Another one that you highlighted, Diane, was, what have you all found useful to help you prepare? What did you do to help you prepare for the math portion of the MFIn program? And if you could speak to maybe some of the orientation courses that you took that also helped you.
So I took in the summer, we have a class, we have the choice between the advanced and the normal class. I took the normal class. I think having had stopped a year between my bachelor's and the MFIn program, I had to do a lot of refreshing once I got to the summer part of the program, which, to be honest, we're all in the same boat. Everyone is studying quite hard in those like 2 very intense months. So it was a lot of studying, but I think you're surrounded by people, also super highly motivated people, which are doing the same. So it really keeps you going, I would say. I didn't do any preparation prior to that, just to answer the question fully.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things that's, and I saw a lot of questions about this too, so maybe I'll add on to what you just said, Francisco, which is very helpful. We do ask in the application about some very, what one of our finance faculty likes to refer to as elemental mathematics. So have you taken a course, and this could be at the bachelor's level, or maybe it was even, an AP course that you took and got credit for in college or university. But, linear algebra, multivariable calculus, or some forms of calculus, probability, statistics, those are kind of the key maths that are very beneficial as you're going into the program. And these, alums, I'm sure, can speak to the value of having that background. Because think of it this way, if you're coming in, maybe deficit is too strong a word, but if you're coming in with a little less of those basic elemental maths, it's a lot of catch up that you're going to have to do. And there isn't a lot of time, and it is an intense period, and there's a lot going on. The summer is busy, but it gets even busier in the fall because then all the other students are on campus and all the clubs are running their programs and activities. So you really want to come in as, feeling as prepared as possible to stretch yourselves intellectually and academically, but at least have that foundation. And the other key foundation is some familiarity with coding, and in particular Python. You're going to have to pass a course at some point in the program in Python. So a lot of our prospective students, when they're applying, if they don't have these courses, will just take something online, or as Francisco said, if you've been away for it for a little bit, just take a refresher. There's tons of them out there. MIT offers them online, lots of other places. So, and we're happy to see that as part of your application, that you made that effort.
Great, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
And then another question we had is, an applicant at a disadvantage or a student at a disadvantage if they don't come from a finance background or have finance internships?
Absolutely not. In fact, I will quote one of our faculty, who is now the finance faculty lead for the MFIn program, has said on multiple occasions, I don't necessarily have to be looking at prospective students or applicants who have all finance coursework. We can teach you the finance. What I really need are individuals who have strong problem solving and analytical skills. And it kind of goes, makes sense when you think about it. So we can teach you finance. You do not have to come in with a ton of finance. That being said, though, you are going to want to demonstrate as part of your application materials and throughout the admission process, why are you interested in pursuing a role in the field of finance? So what is your understanding of and knowledge of the various aspects of finance, whether it's buy side, sell side? Do you want to go into more traditional banking? Do you want to do research? So all of the different aspects at least help to demonstrate if you're coming from a science background, or we have many students who are engineers by training as undergrads. So that, again, we can teach you the finance, but you have to come in with those more innate skills that I mentioned.
Thanks, Diane. And just looking through a couple more A couple of questions around the different concentrations and maybe action learning labs. Folks were wondering, is it possible to take more than one concentration? And then they were curious to hear a little more about the social impact finance as well, opportunities.
So yes, you absolutely can take more than one concentration. It is, if you're in the 12-month, it can be pretty challenging, but it's something that you can absolutely do. And you would talk about this with your academic advisor, at the beginning of the program to kind of map out, all right, what are the key learnings that you want to build as be part of the MFIN program and what's important to you. I'll also mention that the business analytics certificate is available to MFIN students, so you can pursue and earn that while you're also getting your degree in MFIN. It just takes a little bit of how do you juggle when courses are available, what you're required to take. If you don't want to do the business analytics certificate, you can just take some courses that are part of that. So there's a lot of flexibility built into it, and it really just depends on where you see yourself ultimately in terms of at the end of the day, where do you want to land? Where do you see yourself launching your career? What side of finance? I don't know if any of the alums have any more to add to that. We're like at time, so maybe I'll do a quick around the alums. And by the way, I know there's a lot of questions in here. If we didn't get to all of them, please send them to our mfinadmissions.mitsloan@mit.edu email address. I'm sure someone will put it in the chat or the Q&A. So we're more than happy to answer your questions, and keep an eye out, as I said, for other opportunities to engage with us. We're also traveling. Some of our folks are already on the road, so we may be coming to a city near you to take a look at our events page. But maybe as one final kind of, is there, one word you might use to describe your experience at MIT or in the MFIN program? I know I put you on the spot. I didn't give you a lot of time to think about it, but who wants to go first?
One word, I
Yeah.
would say complete. A very well-rounded program.
Okay, great.
I would say maybe eye-opening.
Yeah.
I think like the MFIN program really opened up a lot of doors for me.
Oh, good, good.
Yeah, I would probably choose transforming.
Yeah, we've heard that a lot. Transformative, definitely. Yeah. All right, great. Well, again, thank you everyone for joining us today. Thank you again to our alums. We really appreciate you taking the time. Stay safe. Good luck with your jobs. And we'll be available. Like I said, if you have questions, do not hesitate to email us. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Well,
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.